Welcome to episode 3 of the Happithy podcast. My name is Jana Andrews. I am the CEO of Happithy Marketing. I am joined by my co-host, Thomas McBride, the Director of Communications, also at Happithy Marketing. Today, as we mentioned in our last episode, we are going to be talking numbers and data and talking about social media and influencers and all the fun stuff in between. So we're just going to jump right into it.
Yeah. So as you can see, I have a little notepad with me because there's a lot of numbers.
Yes,
and
when it comes to numbers, we want to make sure that we're reading the facts and not just from memory.
Right, exactly. And I will post where everything came from. So the old English professor in me, I will cite my sources so people know I'm just not making stuff up off the cuff here. These are back to research things that have been done over the last several years. So if you want to be a nerd about it, I will happily drop you all the links and you can nerd out to your heart's content.
Well, good.
Yes.
Awesome. So to start off, why don't you go ahead and tell us some facts we might not know about social media?
So obviously we know that social media is still pretty much the king of everything. Mm-hmm. And we talk about social media, of course, talking about all the major platforms, whether that's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Pinterest, X, since Twitter's gone apparently. X. All of those out there. Now, I'm only going to talk about a few of them. I'm going to talk about Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I might throw a fact or two about Pinterest and YouTube. But I really want to talk about those big main three that we see. I guess LinkedIn is a social media. Of course, I have a great disdain for LinkedIn.
Counts.
I know it counts. So there's 900 million people on LinkedIn. So there's your first fact right there. There's still a lot of people on LinkedIn. But in terms of general users, there are 4.89 billion users on social media.
Wow.
That's insane, first of all. Now, that could also count, meaning you are one user, right? But you are on multiple channels. So your one self may still count as 3 to 4 or 5 social profiles.
Right.
But that's still a great deal because we are all on multiple platforms at once. And if you think about your particular social habits, how many times do you check Facebook, Instagram, TikTok in one day? So each one you have a particular user platform right there and a user profile that you're seeing. What you may be seeing on TikTok may not be what you are experiencing or looking for on Instagram or Facebook, for example.
Right. I mean, and especially for us because we manage so many different types of accounts.
Oh, yeah.
And so maybe
we have multiple personalities on social media.
According to our cookies, we're just
I'm all over the oh my gosh, the stuff I get makes no sense. But then I remember, I do things for clients, for individuals, for brands. So I get all sorts of different ads that I'm like, I don't like this. But then I remember that's right, this other group may be somehow affiliated with that. So that's interesting in itself. And with that in mind, we do spend a lot of time on social media. I would say people like you and I, people who work in agencies, probably spend more than the average person, but the average individual still spends about 151 minutes a day on social media.
Well, yes, they even have coined it as doom scrolling.
Yeah.
You're just mindlessly going through your feed.
Right. And I would love to find out when are the worst times. Imagine before you go to bed, people are sitting there with their phones, scrolling. At work, how much work time is lost because people are on their social media accounts. I'm sure millions or billions of dollars are lost every single year. But so that's a lot of time spent every single day by these, 4 billion people on social media. But because of that, though, there is a lot of money spent on social media. In fact, right now, social media ad spending eclipses just about everything. And right now we spend about $130 billion a year on social media ads. And that's, again, throughout all different platforms, things of that nature. Clients and brands we've represented, make a very, very small fraction of that amount, but, they're still spending in hopes of getting a return on that. And of course, we're going to talk about some of the 3 main platforms that I think people can all identify with or use on a daily basis. Facebook, of course, is one of them. Facebook, in terms for marketers like us, is the king of all social media still. More marketers will use Facebook than any other platform. Something like 90% of all marketers will choose Facebook, even over Instagram or over TikTok or anything else.
And why would you say that is?
I would say one is because it's got the longevity. It's been there the longest. Everybody's programmed on it now. But if you look at the demographics, it's the Gen Zs and millennials that make up the most of Facebook. They're also the ones typically with the amount of money to spend on products.
I see. Yeah. I mean, in retrospect, it's probably where everybody in those generations where they started. I mean, Facebook then went into Instagram, then went into
TikTok and whatever else next, right? Yeah. And 70% of all adult Americans say they're on Facebook. So and that's just an American audience. That's not counting any global audience. And there are a lot of brands that are global brands that want a global reach. So they are spending a lot of money on there. So Facebook is still king in a lot of ways. And I think that's interesting in itself too, because sometimes we'll run into clients that will talk about social media and they'll quickly dismiss like, oh, well, I don't want to be on Facebook. Okay, well, maybe you don't want to be on Facebook. I don't want to be on Facebook, but it necessitates you being there because the audience you're trying to connect with, they're right there. So you can't fully shun a social media just because you don't like it. Now, I'm guilty of that too. Like I hate X. I hate the whole concept of X. It's just, I don't like it, but it doesn't matter if I personally like it.
Right.
If a client or a brand or business has a need for it, then it needs to be there, whether I like it or not.
Yeah.
So
we all have our own opinions.
Yeah,
but
we do.
They still have an audience, and for some clients, it still may make sense.
Exactly. Now, not to down talk, Instagram, for example. Instagram has 2 billion users on it currently. So that's a lot of people as well. And again, we are talking about a global audience. With that, Instagram, though, is the best platform, though, if you're trying to sell a product, because it has a very easy interface to put your product online to help reach, a particular target market. It does that better than anybody else.
Super visual. Yeah. I can say from experience, I have bought many a ad item from Instagram just because you're scrolling and there it is, and it's tailored to what you want, which is more than I've seen on other platforms.
And how easy was it for you to purchase these things?
It's just 3 clicks. And then once you do your first one, it saves all your information. So then the next thing that pops up, do you want to auto-populate?
Right.
And then you're just, before you know it, you've bought many things and you have more.
Wait, so how many purchases have you made on Instagram, let's say, in the last 6 months?
6 months.
If you had to just guess.
If I had to guess, maybe between 20 or 30 items.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Cool. Okay.
I mean,
so yeah, it works.
There's smaller purchases like, clothing or skincare, like that kind of stuff.
But that's actually perfect. That's exactly what it's talking about. It is a quick product that you can see, identify, buy, delivered to you. So you are part of that statistic. Congratulations. You have helped some brand do that. Yeah. TikTok has 1 billion users worldwide. So that's great. It's everywhere.
Yeah. And now because I scroll through TikTok myself as well, and they have started a little bit, but they have started really pushing the TikTok store as well. So they're kind of getting into the e-commerce portion too. So
now that's interesting though. And I really am curious how that is going to work out in the long run. And the reason I say that is because current statistics show that 38.9% of all people on TikTok are 18 to 24. Now, no offense to any 18 to 24-year-old, but there's a good chance they don't have as much money as somebody a little bit more established. So, what are the items they're going to be able to buy? Now, no, that does not mean every single one of them, but a large majority still do not have the spending and buying power that an older audience might have. Yeah. But the other problem with that is that 78.9, so let's just say, almost 80% of all TikTok users say they're there just for fun and entertainment. Buying wasn't anywhere on their list of why they're on TikTok.
Yeah.
Just for the fun.
Yeah.
So that's interesting as well, because a lot of people, I think, may be misappropriating their funds on TikTok when maybe they shouldn't be. Because if these younger people on TikTok are there just for the fun of it, buying may not be the first thing on their mind. Now, they may do it, but they may not be doing it in the numbers that people on Instagram and Facebook are doing.
Yep.
So it's something to really consider.
Yeah. Again, this is just from personal experience as a personal user. I know whenever I see just something advertising something to buy on TikTok, I just immediately scroll past because I'm not interested in giving my information on another platform. Instagram already has it all, so
you've hit your limit. You've chosen to give it to them
for myself.
No need for it. Okay. So right now, I would say between all the social media buying and ads that are out there, the numbers show that about 41% of all Gen Zs and millennials will make impulse buying based on what they see on social media. The funny thing is only 10% of boomers will make an impulse buy. So again, know your audience. The people buying are Gen Zs and millennials. So when you were thinking about how you target a particular thing, product, brand, yourself, if you happen to be the product and brand, are you marketing it to the right people? Or are you just throwing things out there because you think it's viral and it's trending? If it is viral and trending, you need to kind of look at it and say, is it viral and trending for the younger people who just want to be entertained? Or is it viral and trending because it's hitting that market that's actually going to buy from me? That's a big difference right there.
Yeah.
And I think people need to kind of approach that. And I think that's also too why so many times people reach out to influencers to get their products sent out there.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about influencers. I see you shaking your head.
I don't know. Like it's like a love-hate relationship.
Sure.
I get the concept. I do. But I believe it has lost authenticity over the last several years or a decade or so. And you got to remember, this person that you are hiring or marketing out to, whatever it may be, they're representing your brand. They now become the face of your company, the face of your product. You really have to choose them very wisely. And I don't think a lot of people know how to do that. I think they all make the first mistake by thinking, this influencer has 20 million followers. I want them to represent my brand. Somehow thinking those followers are going to equate to people who want to buy your product, when that might not be the case whatsoever. You have to first really decide, is this person's followers, do they fit my branding profile? Mm-hmm. It happens to be some young person with a large amount of following. Do they really need the product you're trying to sell? Or again, are you just looking at flashy numbers and vanity metrics that make it look like they have a lot? But I think the thing to start realizing is start wondering and asking, what does my audience and the audience in social media land in general feel about influencers, right? Mm-hmm. I know how I feel about them. And we've worked with some that it was a complete mess, for lack of a better word. It was just terrible.
And I think that also goes back to if the influencer is also business savvy, because if you're working with someone who just happened to go viral and is trending on social media, but maybe they have no background to understand, okay, I need to make a plan for this, a budget, who's your audience? Right. So I think it's such a saturated market for influencers that it can be very easy for businesses to get in touch with someone who may not know exactly what they're doing, but of course they're going to take your money. Yeah. And
well, do we have time for a quick story? We have time for a quick story, right?
Yeah.
Just a real quick story. Okay, so we had a client who was trying to promote their health and wellness brand, I guess we'll say it. So they reached out to an influencer who had a lot of followers within their genre of things they wanted to sell. And they had very specific guidelines. Now, the client, from what I recall and remember, did their due diligence and was very specific. We would like you to wear this particular shirt with our branding. We would like you to post this at this time. And we would like you to say these certain things. And here's how you set up the product. All that stuff. Well, this influencer did none of the above. He didn't post it on time. It wasn't done viral on time. It wasn't done on Reels on time. This particular person wore a competitor's shirt by accident.
Oof.
Because he just forgot because he was in a hurry.
Yeah.
He didn't, do the product correctly and how it is concocted and all that stuff. So it was just a big mess. And then the guy flubbed all the lines. But he still got paid because he was like, well, there's no refunds because they paid him up front. That's a mess.
Yeah, big mess. But also, too, even if you said, well, okay, maybe you didn't pay him up front and so he doesn't get paid, but your brand still got introduced in a very haphazard way.
Right. Now, there is some light at the end of that dark tunnel, which is another statistic that I'll bring up again later. But it turns out that most influencers, 70% of all their followers are fake anyway. So hopefully it wasn't seen by that many people.
We are living in an age where there are so many fake accounts.
I did want to kind of hit some facts on how consumers are starting to feel about the influencer market. And there was a study done in the UK back in 2018 that found that 62% of people feel that influencers take advantage of impressionable audiences. Imagine that. Another statistic of this said 55% of people feel that influencers are far too materialistic and they're not trustworthy. So again, who's your audience? Know your audience.
Yeah.
If you're starting to make your audience feel inferior and small, that's not a good thing. That's not a good look whatsoever at all. And 54% feel that influencers misrepresent life. First of all, I am shocked that that number is that low. Really? Only 54% of you think it's...
What a statement. Misrepresent life.
Yeah. So it's
you
interesting.
mean social media
there.
Isn't real life?
Yeah, apparently not. Apparently not. It's all fake, apparently. But there goes, that then goes into like more studies that have been done recently. Forbes did a study in 2019, basically asking people, can we even trust influencers? First of all, again, I think it's almost funny that we have to ask ourselves these questions, because how much trust can you put in any individual when they're being paid to say something?
Right.
It's no different than commercials you used to see on television, or even if you want to go back even further than that, radio ads, print ads back in the day. You're getting what somebody is paying somebody to write, say, speak, video record. So I think right there you have to question, how real is this? How authentic is this? Has this person ever used this product? Have they tried this brand? And the thing is, then if you see the same influencer promoting something totally different a week later, how much trust do you have in that too?
Yes, because we do know some that will charge extra to be exclusive.
Yes.
So, which makes sense, I guess, because, if they're going to get more money from a competitor, they're going to take it.
62% of people say they think it's unethical for influencers to promote products or brands that they've never tried themselves. I think there is some truth to that. I would agree
with that.
Right, because how can you say something is great if you've never done it?
On the flip side, so I do agree, and not to discredit any of the influencers, the small number I would assume that are actually promoting products that they do endorse personally. I do know, like, there's some you'll listen on a podcast, for example, of somebody who will say, like, we did get sponsored by this, but we've actually tried it. But then, you take it with a grain of salt because they're getting paid for it. So,
but at least they said it. At least they were upfront and said, we're being paid to say this, but we actually like it. Hopefully they do, but at least I give them credit for at least being transparent and saying that first. Which goes back into something else that 77% said influencers should report any side effects if they tried a product that caused them any type of harm. I would say yes, they should. But it goes back to, if they never tried the product in the first place, how would they know?
Yeah. But that would be hard for an individual to do, to say you endorse this and then to come back and be like, I was wrong.
Right. And also, we are never, as consumers, privy to the contracts that are signed.
Right.
And there could be non-disclosure agreements. So I, cannot just say influencers don't do that. They may not be legally able to do that because I don't know what are in some of those contracts. I do know that people say that the FTC, for example, should be more strict with influencers. And the FTC, of course, is going to regulate any type of deceptive trade practices and any type of advertising. And technically that does include influencer marketing, because it is selling a product over a digital medium through the social medias. technically, by law, they are supposed to subscribe to the same standards of advertising and non-deceptive practices as everybody else, but it's just very rarely used.
Yeah.
So it's one of those like, yeah, you should do it, but if no one's going to enforce it, then
I imagine that would be very hard to track. And
right.
I mean, even cyberbullying, it's in court for so long.
Right.
And that's, have direct impact. But
yeah. Fun little quote I heard when doing the research on this. Man by the name of John Crandall, who's an analysis for NetPop Research, said that for most millennials, quote, the whole world of influencer marketing is grayscale and there is no more trust. So that's a pretty hardcore statement because, again, it goes back to who is spending the money. Statistics show the money is being spent by Gen Zs and millennials. If you've lost an entire demographic that says, I don't trust you, period, that's a lot of money being lost for any type of brand out there.
Well, that kind of goes back to our previous episode where we talked about Web3 and how things are kind of trying to move more into a less deceptive but less tracking kind of world. So I think that tracks with the upcoming generation, that they're kind of tired of seeing things that aren't real and getting everything tracked. And
I think no matter what will happen too is that the younger generation that is maybe still buying into the influencer market, no matter what, as much as people hate to say it and admit it, we get older. You get older, you get a little bit more wiser, hopefully, right? And then you start feeling the same thing as the older generation, like, oh, I don't believe these people anymore. I think they're just trying to take advantage of me. Maybe. And I think that's just happens. That's just a generational thing. We start being more savvy as consumers. Our money starts meaning more to us the older we get as well, because it's a commodity and we work hard for that income, and we don't want to just give it away for nothing or something we don't believe in or something we can't trust.
Yeah. So we are running up on time a little bit. So how would you say we fix this? Is there a light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah, you burn all the social media down.
just go dark.
Yeah, maybe. I think that there are ways to fix it. First, it's admitting that there is a problem. Right? And that's what brands have to do first. Brands have to realize that people are suffering from influencer fatigue. In fact, only 3% of people say they buy products now from celebrity influencers. That's a very small amount of people. They are getting tired of inauthenticity. How do you say that word?
Inauthenticity.
Thank you. I'm not going to edit that out. I'm going to keep that in because I just totally blanked on that word. Yes. Right there. They are tired of things not being authentic, right? So they need to change it. They need to change their approach to things as well. And I think too, for brands, the brands need to start getting savvy as well and start realizing just because an influencer has a lot of followers doesn't equate money back to my brand. You may have lost money because if only a small percentage of them are buying and 70% of the influencer's followers are fake, you're losing a lot. More people are more trustworthy when they see influencers, I would say micro-influencers. They're more localized. They are within the community. There's somebody that maybe somebody you bump into, but they represent a very small segment that you are intimate with. Whether it is your city, your town, a particular club you belong to, that has more resonance of trust and an authentic feeling than a celebrity influencer. And when I say celebrity influencer, I'm not just talking about like some Kim Kardashian. I'm talking about any influencer who has a large scale audience, right? But people want, in a sense, that hometown feeling, that, oh, this person looks like me. They dress like me. They talk like me. They're just like me. And they are trying out this particular product or brand. Well, they seem trustworthy, so I'll give it a shot. I think for companies and brands, it really is looking at who are you trying to sell to. If you're just trying to sell to one particular city, you don't have to have a global audience. You don't have to even have a national audience. If you are in a city of 1 million people and you have 10,000 real followers, man, you're killing the game. You're doing great. Love those people, take care of them, give them everything they need, and be authentic, be real, be transparent. You'll do fantastic. You know what I mean? Because those followers are real and engaging. So I think that's the trick of the future, is to scale back to your own area, get people within that area, start a little community, start a little tribe of influencers that are real, that people can believe in, can engage with, and feel like they are part of the same group. I think that's like the biggest thing and the biggest takeaway that any business can have, especially if they're a local business.
I would agree. So basically be strategic and plan out your marketing.
Yes.
And get somebody who makes sense with their audience.
Exactly. Oh, one more statistic, please, because
Okay.
this is for all the influencers who may one day listen to this. Definitely got to be careful, because 33.5% of people say they totally see a future where influencers will be replaced by artificial intelligence and virtually created individuals.
I was about to ask that, because we have actually been seeing some of them pop up on our feeds, and you read the comments and people are none the wiser.
That's scary in itself.
Even if in the comment it says this is not a real person, people just won't read.
No, they won't. And from a business standpoint, it could save them millions, billions maybe. You spend the money once to create this artificial construct, whether it's male, female, fictitious, make-believe, whatever. That's it. You don't have to pay them ever again. You don't have to pay them, period. It is like complete profit margin for big companies out there. So if that is how people are trending and people are already willing to accept it, then you may be seeing a huge disruption in the celebrity influencer market in the next 5 years. Not even 10 years, we're talking like the next 5 years that could upend. But I still believe that those smaller, localized micro-influencers, they'll be fine, because people will still want to trust a brand that has a real person that they can relate to.
Right. If your audience is for your local, small town feel, you're not going to get deceived by an AI, because you're going to notice right away, this doesn't look real. This doesn't look like my hometown.
Right, exactly. So moral of the story is be authentic, be transparent, be real. That's what people are wanting.
Yep. Well, good. We'll see what the future holds.
Yes, we will. Not too far off either.
Well, thank you everyone for listening to this episode.
For listening to me ramble.
We will be sure to link back those numbers.
Yes.
So you can, as we said, be transparent. And be sure to tune in for our next episode. And if you are looking for any marketing needs, be sure to visit us online at happithy.com anytime, and we will get right back to you. Have a great day.